Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Playoff Push podcast. This is your NFL recap for week 9 of the 2024-2025 NFL season. We will be touching on all the games from this week, as well as the implications on the division standings. And we'll also have our fantasy segment, in which we talk about the biggest players in this week who you may not have expected to have great games, or maybe the biggest busts who you might want to look into benching next week of your fantasy season. We will lead off with the first game of this week, Halloween night, Houston at the Jets. The Jets offense is slowly starting to turn around while the Houston offense is starting to dwindle with the departure of Stephon Diggs for the year, as well as Nico Collins still not being back yet. The Jets will take this one 21-13. Aaron Rodgers with a pretty good stat line for his standards this year, 22 for 32, 211 yards, as well as 3 touchdowns to no picks. So a great stat line in this one against a pretty solid Houston defense. You got Derek Stingley, one of the best young corners in the league in that secondary. 3 touchdowns to no picks is not bad at all. Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 91 yards and a touchdown, as well as Garrett Wilson, 9 catches, 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, including one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. Brees Hall's kind of staying on the low still, 15 carries, 74 yards, as well as 2 catches for 11 yards through the air. But this is a passing offense, and it's going to show it these next few weeks. Aaron Rodgers starting to tap into the potential of his top 2 receivers. We'll see where he can take it. But a pretty hot start here for the Devontae Adams tenure with the Jets, and the Texans just could not be colder right now. CJ Stroud, 11 for 30, which is probably around a 35% completion percentage, which is garbage. 191 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, as well as 8 carries for 59 yards. But this team is continuously getting carried by Joe Mixon with the departure of Nico and Diggs for quite a while. Mixon, 24 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. However, he did not catch a pass. The only players to catch a pass in this game was Tank Dell, 6 for 126, Woods, 2 for 44, and Schultz, 3 for 21. No one else caught a pass. So that's scary look for this Texans offense. They need Nico Collins back now because Diggs is out for the year. And you cannot rely on 3 guys to pass the entire time if you want to win. That's an awful strategy and will not pay off for Houston. But the Jets take this one, move up to 3-6. Houston falls to 6-3, but the Jets do win 21-13. On to the next game. Saints Panthers. This was a disaster. Dennis Allen has now been fired from the Saints head coaching spot due to this disaster of a downfall. Saints starting out 2-0 and dropping 7 straight to fall to 2-7 and losing to the Bryce Young led 2024 Carolina Panthers. Are we serious? 23-22, the Panthers win. Both teams even out at 2-7. Derek Carr is throwing hospital balls on the daily, injuring Chris Olave once again. Seems like what for the millionth time. Carr, 18 for 31, 236, 1 touchdown, no picks, and 1 wide receiver taken to the hospital. So Derek Carr putting up a pretty usual stat line for him. This was the Alvin Kamara show. I mean, we knew that coming in. He was facing Carolina, which is the worst team in the league, probably. So he, of course, was going to ball. 29 carries, 155 yards, as well as 6 catches for 60 yards, putting up great numbers for my team. We'll talk about my fantasy team later. But Kamara has just been that guy, and he will continue to be that guy. The 1 rushing touchdown was ran in by Taysom Hill, who had 5 carries for 19 yards in the touchdown, and Foster Moreau caught the passing touchdown from Derek Carr. Of course, Olave had the 1 catch for 13 yards before having to go out of the game. Prayers for him. He seems to not be in the worst shape ever, which is a good sign. So prayers up for Chris Olave. He's such a talented receiver, and it's so unfortunate injuries are taking such a large toll on his career due to Derek Carr not being able to place a pass that's healthy for a wide receiver. But on the Panthers side, taking the win in this one, Bryce Young, 16 for 26, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Chuba Hubbard kept on his game, 15 carries, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. The 1 touchdown through the air was caught by Xavier Legette, a guy who was in the first round, and many people didn't think he deserved it, but slowly popping up in these conversations of actually a pretty good receiver, getting another touchdown in this contest. But Carolina with a last second breaker to beat New Orleans 23-22. Both teams now 2-7. Heading over to the next game, we got Commies, Commanders, and Giants. Now, the Commanders do win this one 27-22 over the Giants. Of course, I mean, I'm a Giants fan. I mean, if we had a shot at winning this game, I would have been so happy. We actually had a comeback towards the end. Unfortunately, was not enough. Jaden Daniels, 15 for 22, 209 yards, two touchdowns, and no picks. A classic stat line for probably who's going to win Rookie of the Year. This was a Rookie of the Year battle between Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. It's going to be one of the two taking away the trophy. I think it'll be Daniels, but we'll see. But of course, Daniels, again, 15 for 22, 209, two tutties, no picks, as well as 8 carries for 35 on the ground, putting up another stellar stat line for a rookie. However, this running game was very interesting today. Chris Rodriguez and Austin Eckler, both with 11 carries. Rodriguez 52, Eckler 42. Eckler did have the rushing touchdown, however. But this receiving game was so spread out. It was beautiful. Noah Brown, 5 for 60. Eckler, 3 for 41. McLaurin had 2 catches for 19 yards and 2 touchdowns. Are we serious? I mean, that's just how this Washington offense operates. They can get the ball to anyone they want at any given moment and make it work. Daniel Jones finally threw a home touchdown for the first time since I went to MetLife back on January 1st, 2023. The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls since the last time he threw a touchdown at home. So thanks to you, Daniel Jones, for finally breaking that streak. 20 for 26, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks for Danny Dimes in this one. Malik Neighbors, 9 for 59. Not awful. Theo Johnson, his first career touchdown, 3 for 51 in the tutty in the back of the end zone. And the other touchdown went to Chris Manhertz, a guy who's usually known for his blocking. Ran a route, made a nice catch to get his toes down for the tutty. The other touchdown was a rushing touchdown from Daniel Jones himself, who was 7 for 54. Tyrone Tracy also getting more starting running back reps in this Giants offense. So the Commanders come out on top 27-22. Commanders go to 7-2. Giants fall to 2-7. But this Giants offense is slowly looking better, I guess you could say. I don't even know at this point. It's been disappointment all year. But the Giants lose another one, and we head over to Miami and Buffalo. Now, this one was close all throughout. Miami actually put up good numbers in the first half, put up 10 points. However, Buffalo surged in the second half, as they do every game this year. Josh Allen, 25 for 39, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. But those 3 touchdowns were huge. One going to Ray Davis through the air on 2 catches for 70 yards. The other is going to Mac Hollins, 5 for 30, and Quentin Morris, 1 reception for 2 yards and the touchdown. Khalil Shakir had 6 for 50. Kincaid, 4 for 32. And the rushing game never really got anything going. 44 yards for Cook, 23 for Ty, 20 for Ray Davis, and 7 rushing yards for Josh Allen. But they still came out on top in this one. Tua Tagovailoa from Miami, 25 for 28. A pretty great completion percentage right there, especially for a guy who's still recovering from his what seems like his millionth concussion. But a really great stat line there for Tua, as well as 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Those 2 passing touchdowns, one went to Devon Achane, 8 catches, 58 yards in the touchdown. And then we have Jalen Waddle. Waddle, 2 catches, -4 yards, and a touchdown. How the hell does that make any sense? He has negative yardage, a touchdown, and 2 catches. What kind of sense does this make? What kind of witchcraft do they have done in Miami as to where you can get a receiving touchdown and have -4 yards on 2 catches? It's incredible what this Miami offense can do and how they can bend stat lines to make it work. But anyway, Tyreek Hill, 4 for 80 through the air. Devon Achane also 12 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Raheem Mostert did things for his running back 2 role. I mean, what do you expect for a running back 2? But Buffalo still does win this one, 30-27. Buffalo moves up to 7-2. Miami falls to 2-6. Now heading over to Chargers and Browns. Herbert with a great stat line this week. 18 for 27, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Those 2 passing touchdowns, one to Ladd McConkey. I lied. Quentin Johnston, 4 receptions, 118 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 29.5 yards per catch in this week for Quentin Johnston, a guy who's been pretty on and off. Ladd McConkey did still have a good game, though, however, 5 catches, 64 yards. The other passing touchdown was to Joshua Palmer, 2 for 63 and the tutty. But this was a great show for J.K. Dobbins. 14 carries, 85 yards, which is an average of 6.1, as well as 2 rushing touchdowns. Also added 2 catches for 20 yards. So this Chargers offense is slowly starting to look more powerful, even with the departure of their huge receivers this offseason, putting together a pretty solid record at 5-3, beating the now 2-7 Cleveland Browns because Jameis Winston apparently can't have an insanity run for more than one game. Winston 26 for 46, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. That's more of the Winston we know. Regression to the mean is real, folks. But Cedric Tillman continues his hot streak, 6 for 75 and a touchdown. Nobody else in the receiving game really did too much. Judy 7 for 73. Atkins 3 for 32. Njoku 5 for 29. But that was really it. The rushing game never got anything going either. Just a really disappointing game from this Browns offense. Never got anything going. The 3 picks from Winston, one was caught by Alohi Gilman, the others by Tarheeb Still and Elijah Molden. So those were the guys who caught the picks off of Jameis Winston, the pick master. Chargers win this one 27-10, move up to 5-3. Now we're heading over to Patriots Titans. What a game this was. Pretty solid one at that. Drake May, 29 for 41, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. The rookie quarterback still putting up solid numbers, even though stat lines might not look too good individually. But he's been playing pretty solid overall in his first few career starts. He also had 8 carries for 95 yards, averaging around 12 yards a carry, which is pretty solid for a quarterback. You don't get to see that too often. However, the rushing game was only good with Drake May. Ramondre Stevenson, 10 for 16, did have a touchdown, but 1.6 yards per carry is not going to cut it, especially when you're a guy who's so high revered in this league. The passing game, however, was on their game. Hunter Henry, 7 catches, 56 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 4 for 41. Ramondre, 5 for 38, as well as a touchdown through the air. So Ramondre actually definitely outperformed himself through the air compared to what he did on the ground in this one. But despite their efforts, Tennessee is the one that comes out on top. Mason Rudolph, 20 for 33, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Those 2 touchdowns, one went to Nick Westbrook-Ikine, a guy who you can rely on to be a pretty solid stat line pretty much every week. I'm a huge Westbrook-Ikine fan. I think he's super underrated, and it's constantly a huge spark plug in this Titans offense. The other touchdown was caught by Nick Vannett, another tight end, a week removed from National Tight Ends Day. But Calvin Ridley put up a good stat line too. 5 catches, 73 yards. Chiga Conquo, 3 for 38. The rushing game was all right. Pollard, 28 for 128. Again, not too bad. But it was enough to beat New England. Tennessee moves up to 2-6. New England falls to 2-7, 20-17 final in favor of the Nashville Titans. As we head over to Dallas and Atlanta, this Dallas offense, what is happening? Coming into this year, I expected it to be fire. I got Dak, I got CD on my fantasy team. I was ready, locked, and loaded. But now they're falling to 3-5 at the hands of the 6-3 Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons win this one 27-21. Kirk Cousins has been the savior for this Falcons offense. 19 for 24, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 88 and a touchdown. Ray McLeod, 3 for 28 and a touchdown. Drake London, 2 for 27 and a touchdown. So yardage-wise, not too great, but pretty good in terms of overall production. Mooney averaged just under 18 yards per catch. London was 13 and a half, despite only having 2 catches. But that was enough to win. I mean, Tyler Allgeier had another rushing touchdown, 6 for 18 yards and the tutty on the ground. I don't know if it's Allgeier or Algier. I really flip it back and forth depending on what I'm feeling. But anyway, that was the Falcons offense, just firing and firing and firing. 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. A great offensive showing from this Falcons offense. Moving over to the Cowboys, who cannot say the same. Dak Prescott, 18 for 24, 133 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Rush had to come in after a Dak Prescott injury. Rush, 13 for 25, 115 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. So those 2 receiving touchdowns, one was caught by Rico Dowdle on one of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen. A lot of scrambling, and then it was tipped up, and Dowdle caught it while on the ground. I don't even know. It was a ridiculous play. Go check the clip if you haven't already. The other touchdown was called by Jalen Tolbert, 3 for 19. Jake Ferguson at 7 for 71, CD 8 for 47. But again, just a lackluster performance from this Dallas offense. Ezekiel Elliott was a healthy scratch from this game due to being ruled a distraction by the rest of the team and the media. So a healthy scratch from this one is Zeke as Atlanta wins at 27-21, moves to 6-3, while Dallas falls to 3-5. But regardless of Dallas's pretty lackluster performance, we still have some more games ahead of us. On to Cincinnati, Las Vegas. You can expect how this one went. Joe Burrow, 27 for 39, 251 yards, 5 passing touchdowns to 1 pick. I mean, Burrow's been on his game these last few weeks, showing it here. Mike Gesicki, 5 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Are we serious, my man? Penn State, tight end university, either us or Iowa. But Gesicki showing why Penn State's in the running. 5 for 100, man. Really, for a tight end, 20 yards per catch is insane. Jamar Chase, 7 for 43. Chase Brown, 5 catches for 37 and a touchdown, as well as Drew Sample getting a touchdown. And my boy, Andre Iosivas, doing what he does best, getting a touchdown once again. Rushing game was pretty solid. Chase Brown, 27 carries, 120 yards. But this was the Chase Brown show in terms of fantasy points. But so was Gesicki. And so was Burrow. Wait a minute. Was this an all-time fantasy game for Cincinnati? We'll see in the fantasy segment. But you can bet your butt it sure was. As the Raiders did nothing. I mean, Desmond Ridder, 11 for 16, 74 yards, a touchdown. It was caught by Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers, 8 for 105. Whoop-de-doo. Samir White had a rushing touchdown, averaging 1.7 per carry. That's that. Cincinnati wins 41-24. Absolute monster of a game for Cincinnati. We'll look at the fantasy standings later for this week. But that's a huge win for Cincinnati, slowly rallying back up to 4-5 on a huge hot streak right now. Then we got Denver and Baltimore. What did you expect? I mean, Bo Nix has been on a hot streak, sure. When you head into Baltimore and you have to face Lamar Jackson, the MVP, the man himself, you're not doing anything. Bo Nix, 19 for 33, 223 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. But you know it's bad when Courtland Sutton has more passing touchdowns than you. You heard that right. Courtland Sutton, 1 for 1, 2 yards and a passing touchdown to Bo Nix. Wait a minute. Little bait and switch here. Quarterback receiver flipping the script. Yes, it was. And it was a nice catch by Nix, too. A jump ball right by the goal line. I'm honestly surprised the refs made the right call and ruled it in. But what a week for Courtland Sutton. He also had 7 catches, 122 yards, showing how Bo Nix is able to make use of his receivers. Still was not enough, though. The running game never got anything going, and Lamar Jackson's going to do Lamar Jackson things. 16 for 19, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Unfortunately, was not able to get the rushing game going. Lamar had 3 carries for 4 yards. He had the same amount of carries as Josh Johnson. You mean the journeyman quarterback who's been on a million different teams who didn't take a passing snap? Yes. Josh Johnson and Lamar both had 3 carries, total of 6 yards. What the heck? But anyway, Derrick Henry doing what he does best. 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolute domination from King Henry. He's been doing it for years. Why would you expect him to stop? But Zay Flowers showing up in the passing game as well. 5 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just been putting up great numbers all year. I avoided him in fantasy because I didn't think this Ravens offense would be as pass heavy as I, could have believed. But now we're seeing the pass and run can work simultaneously, both very well at that. The other receiving touchdown was called by fullback Patty Ricard, a guy who I love watching play. He's just such a, bundle of joy. I love Pat Ricard. So happy to see him get a touchdown, especially in the passing game. But this was never close. Baltimore dropped 24 in the first half, 17 in the second half, total of 41. All of Denver's points for the second quarter. It was never close. Baltimore's up to 6-3. Denver falls to 5-4. But now heading to Bears Cardinals. This was the game where the Bears were shut down, contrary to what I thought it would be. Kyler Murray, 13 for 20, 154 yards, nothing going in the passing game. Nobody eclipsed 40 yards receiving. McBride, 35, Higgins, 34, Harrison, 34. That was it. but the rushing game was on point. Connor, 18 for 107, as well as DeMarcado and Benson both getting a rushing touchdown, and Trey McBride getting a rushing touchdown, 1 carry for 2 yards. So a huge rushing game for Arizona, but the Bears were just shut down. Caleb Williams, 22 for 41, 217 yards, no touchdowns and no picks, but no offensive success for this team at all, quite honestly. No rushing, no passing, no nothing. Rome Odunze, 5 catches, 104 yards. Only notable stat line. I'm not even going to keep going. That's it. Cardinals win 29 to 9. Cardinals go up to 5 and 4, which I believe leads the NFC West. Bears fall to 4 and 4. On to the next one. Jacksonville, Philadelphia. What on earth was this game? This game seemed like a dream. Philly comes out on top 28-23. A way too close game for Philadelphia fans. Sirianni needs to go now. But anyway, Jacksonville drops 23 points in the second half to try to make a comeback. Unfortunately, just not enough. But this was maybe the most athletic game I've ever seen from Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, 18 for 24, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, as well as 13 for 67 and a touchdown on the ground. But the real talk of the town is Saquon Barkley. This man had 27 carries, 159 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, as well as 3 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown through the air. But what is everyone talking is his backwards hurdle after spin moving a guy. He's playing Madden out there. I mean, he's hurdling guys backwards. He's spin moving everybody like it's nothing, trucking, stiff arming. You say it, he can probably do it on the football field. This dude's on rookie mode in Madden 19, just obliterating everybody. And that's how it's been all year. The man's a one-man wrecking crew. But believe it or not, he's not the only man this Eagles offense has. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. That touchdown being a one-hander in the back of the end zone, hauling it in. Smitty putting up some great numbers. A.J. Brown did go out of this game early with what I believe to be an ankle injury. I didn't actually see what it was, but A.J. Brown was down the whole game. Philly still got a lot of offensive pressure, and Trevor Lawrence sucks. I mean, 16 for 31, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 169 yards. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but he only had 1.6 yards per carry. I'm calling fluke. Just a disaster. This Jags offense just stinks. It's awful. It's like really bad. But Philly wins it 28-23. Heading over to another pretty solid game, you got Rams Seahawks. I was hoping for more Cooper Kupp points for the chance to break my fantasy league's record. Unfortunately, did not happen. Matthew Stafford, 25 for 44, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Cooper Kupp did put up good numbers, however, though. 11 for 104. Demarcus Robinson, 6 for 94 and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime. But a huge point on this game is Puka Nacua. Now, Nacua was ejected from the game for throwing a punch pretty early on, not getting too many targets, and, unfortunately got ejected. I mean, Puka's one of the young receivers in this game that everyone's keeping an eye on. So he's high on a pedestal. So seeing that happen was huge, a lot of backlash. But, you can't try to punch a guy. I mean, that's just in the rules. That's happening. So Puka was ejected. Rams still find a way to win it. Geno Smith is a D1 choker. 21 for 34, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, a whole lot of threes. Meaning, I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, Geno Smith, 3 touchdowns, 2 to Jackson Smith and Jigba, the game of his NFL life. He had a much better game in college, which I believe he had around 67 fantasy points in that game in college. We'll see how many he had in this one. But JSN, 7 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. The other touchdown was caught by Tyler Lockett, 3 for 63. But JSN showing off in this one, showing back to his Ohio State days, putting up some stellar numbers. But Geno Smith just couldn't get the job done. Too many turnovers to really be able to win this one. 26-20. The Rams win and go to 4 and 4. Seahawks fall to 4 and 5. Now we're on to Detroit and Green Bay. This Lions offense shows no idea of stopping. Goff, 18 for 22, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, not too many yards, but when you're Jared Goff, you just make the offense work. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 catches, 56 yards and a touchdown. Not too much in the passing game otherwise. Montgomery, 73 on the ground. Gibbs, 65 on the ground. Whoop-de-doo. Great job, guys. You just continuously knock it out of the ballpark. Gibbs also had a rushing touchdown. What's new from Sonic and Knuckles? But the huge point in this game is how Jared Goff has not missed Amon-Ra St. Brown on a target since week 3. He's perfect when targeting Amon-Ra since week 3. Are you kidding? And I believe he has 5 touchdowns, around 300 yards, around 30 catches. It's unreal the streak that Goff and Amon-Ra are on, performing at such a high level over and over. Makes sense why they're 7-1 with a 24-14 victory over the now 6-3 Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, not too great. 23 for 39, 273 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. That was it. Jaden Reed, 5 for 113. Nothing else in the passing game. Josh Jacobs, 13 for 95. Emmanuel Wilson had a rushing touchdown on the ground. That was it. Detroit won. Not the best performance we've seen from them on offense all year, but it does not show any signs of slowing down. That is for sure. Now we got Minnesota and Indianapolis. Minnesota wins this one 21-13, getting back in the win column, moving up to 6-2. The Colts fall to 4-5. Taking Anthony Richardson out of the starting role and putting Joe Flacco in did not seem too successful this week. 16 for 27, 179 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick for Flacco, who I believe is 39 years old. So pretty, when you put an old man in at quarterback, what do you expect to happen? But no great receivers in this one. Michael Pittman was expected to go off, had 1 catch for 14 yards. Great job, my guy. Wow, impressive. But no touchdowns for this Colts offense. Just absolutely lifeless in this one. No one had higher than 60 yards. Josh Allen has 6 catches, 60 yards. That was the most of any yardage from a skill position. But Minnesota, again, a pretty solid one, Sam Darnold, 28 for 34, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Justin Jefferson being the man, 7 catches, 137 yards. The passing touchdowns were caught by Josh Oliver, Jordan Addison, and Jalen Naylor. Just putting up pretty solid stats was enough to beat the Colts in this disaster of a Flacco attempt. And we are now at the end of Monday Night Football. Buccaneers had the ball, 2nd-and-goal at the Kansas City 1 with 30 seconds left to play, down 7. We will see what they do. I will just give, and they do score, 1-yard touchdown catch from Ryan Miller. This game is tied with 29 seconds to play. 1-yard touchdown catch, Ryan Miller. It's a 24-24 ball game, likely to go to overtime. Pretty big here, but looking at the stat lines after that touchdown from Baker Mayfield to Miller, Mayfield 23 for 31, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Receiving, K. Dotton had himself a day. 8 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. But what are you going to do when you're a tight end that's the number 1 target? And of course, Ryan Miller with his 1 catch in this game for 1 yard and the touchdown. Rushing, not too much. Rachaad White had 1 touchdown on 3 carries for 19 yards. But this was a relatively silent game for this Buccaneers offense. Patrick Mahomes finally put up a good stat line. 28 for 36, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. 2 of them going to DeAndre Hopkins, who had 7 for 71, 2 tutties, showing why he's one of the greatest receivers of the 21st century. He can catch a ball from any quarterback. Mahomes, definitely the most talented quarterback he's ever had, so he's not complaining in the slightest. Putting up numbers like these, he's going to be fine. Samaje Perine had the other receiving touchdown, 4 for 25 through the air for the touchdown. Kareem Hunt had 23 for 90 on the ground. But this game is now tied 24-24 with 27 seconds, likely to head into overtime. We will check on if that is confirmed after our fantasy segment, but we are heading in. We will start off with the guys who performed way better than you would have expected, leading off with the man himself, Jackson Smith and Jigba. This dude, 7 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 37 fantasy points, easily the best for the week and easily the best of his NFL career. Again, his college days, he had some crazy games, so it wouldn't even compare to those. But a great week from a guy who many people had on their bench, including my opponent. I may or may not have dropped 180 points. Tyler, get destroyed. But anyway, Great line there from JSN. Have fun sitting him on your bench, Tyler. Demarcus Robinson, 27.4 on 6 for 94, 2 receiving touchdowns. Gesicki, 27 points, 5 for 100, 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown putting up 26.7, as well as Daniel Jones putting up 24.36. We'll also add in Cortland Sutton, who put up 23.28. Some pretty interesting ball players in there to put up high fantasy scores. But what we have to talk about is the biggest busts. From the quarterback position, Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud, both under 5 fantasy points. Absolutely disappointing. And, that's just horrendous. Kyler Murray didn't do much. Flacco didn't do much. Minshew did nothing. It was benched for Desmond Ritter. Winston, again, really disappointing compared to the previous week. But looking at running backs, another set of disappointing guys. Tank Bigsby, Nick Chubb, Alexander Madison, Travis Etienne, Jonathan Taylor, all struggling to get anything off the ground. Again, just some disappointing guys this week. Keon Coleman, Jalen Waddle, Wan'Dale Robinson, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Brian Thomas Jr. A lot of receiver busts this week, just not being able to succeed in these offensives this week. Wan'Dale Robinson was held really in check, just absolutely shut down. Slayton was actually outperforming him by quite a bit. And tight ends, don't even get me started. Cole Kmet, no points, no targets, no nothing. Zach Ertz, under 2 points. Pitts, under 3 points. Conklin, under a point. Mark Andrews was under 5 points. Isaiah Likely did not get in a target. And Laporta was probably around 5 points. A lot of disappointing guys this week. A lot of guys who many people had started. Like, I'll name some guys I think people started. Stroud was definitely started. Kyler was definitely started. Chubb was definitely started. Taylor, I'd say Wan'Dale and Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Brian Thomas, all those guys are starters on the majority of teams. Sam Laporta, just brutal that they're able to be shut down like that. Those are your busts of the week for the Playoff Push podcast. And it's sure looking like we're going to head into overtime. We have 13 seconds left in this fourth quarter. Hopefully you're able to see the results of this game. But after that, that was our fantasy segment sponsored by www.cadestarters.com. Go make sure to check it out for all of your fantasy and sports betting needs for your parlays or whatever you want to do. But anyway, that's been episode 20 of the Playoff Push Podcast, NFL Recap episode for week 9. Have a great rest of your day or night and be able to tune in for the rest of our episodes in the future. Have a great rest of your day.